At my wedding, my dad, a wealthy CEO, demanded I remove those ridiculous medals. Can you imagine the audacity? My own father, at my wedding, surrounded by 280 guests, slapped me so hard the sound cracked across the room like a pistol shot. Champagne glasses froze midair, forks clattered onto plates of prime rib, and every single eye in that opulent hall darted between us in utter, shocked disbelief. The sting bloomed across my cheek, hot and humiliating, but I refused to flinch. My medals, the rows of ribbons earned in places he could never comprehend, shifted slightly with the impact, clinking faintly against each other. It was like they were reminding me exactly why I stood tall, even then. My father, the CEO of Holstead Enterprises, a man who'd built a tech empire from nothing and never let anyone forget it, had just struck his daughter. Not in a private fit of rage, but in public, trying to humiliate me. You probably want to know what the hell happened next, and why a father would do something so unbelievably cruel on his daughter's wedding day. The hall still smelled of polished wood, expensive roses, and whiskey, but all I felt was the burning on my face and the suffocating weight of all those eyes. He'd already sneered his command once, his voice dripping with disdain. Take off those silly medals, he'd said, like the service ribbons on my chest were cheap costume jewelry, an embarrassment to his image. I'd refused, with a quiet shake of my head, my chin high, my posture drilled into my bones from years of standing inspection. That's when his hand had lashed out. Before I could even react, another hand intercepted him, strong, steady, gloved in white. It was James, my fiancé, a 4-star Navy SEAL. He gripped my father's wrist with iron control, calm but absolutely unyielding. He leaned in close enough that only a few in the front rows could possibly hear. 8 words left his mouth, low and deliberate. And in that instant, whatever power Dad thought he held, whatever empire he believed was untouchable, evaporated. The entire room, every single one of those 280 guests, rose to their feet. It wasn't chaos, it was collective judgment. A wave of silent, undeniable verdict. The CEO who built his empire on commanding attention suddenly looked small, his face drained of color, his eyes darting like a cornered man. My cheek still burned, but my pride? That never wavered. I stood straighter. Because in that moment, I wasn't just his daughter. I was a decorated officer. A woman who had carried her weight in deserts and on decks halfway around the world. So, how did we get here? Why a father would slap his daughter on her wedding day? Why a uniform, the one truth I'd ever truly owned, could ignite such fury? To understand that moment in the hall, you have to understand where I came from. I grew up in a house where power was currency and love was rationed out like quarterly dividends. Dad was the kind of man who measured worth by profit margins and filled dinner conversations with who he could impress at the country club. He wore custom suits like armor, smoked cigars that smelled like burned leather, and drove cars that cost more than some families' homes. To the outside world, he was larger than life. To me, he was a wall I could never climb. From the time I could walk, my path was mapped out in his head: prep school, Ivy League, a C on the board, and eventually, and then watch the full story link is attached below.